Good morning and welcome. Thank you, Dean, that was beautiful. Welcome to the First Parish in Framingham. I am Diane Bassett, and I finally consider myself a longtime member of First Parish. Most recently, I have served as a leader of some of our racial justice explorations, and now as a member on the Council on Ministry. I use she, her pronouns, and I will be your worship associate this morning. Before we go any further, I don't see Beth Walton, but I want to say a special thanks to Beth Walton and the members of the Welcoming Committee who put together such a beautiful breakfast over in Scott Hall this morning. The conversation, the community building was heartwarming. So to all of you who put that together, thank you. First Parish in Framingham is a welcoming congregation. We celebrate and welcome people of all sexual orientations, races, ages, gender identities, abilities, or beliefs. We welcome you if you're joining us in the meeting house, on Zoom, or if you're watching this service after the fact. Whoever you are, whoever you love, wherever you are on life's journey, you are welcome here. Unitarian Universalism is a liberal religion that honors wisdom from many sources. We keep our minds open to the religious questions people have struggled with in all times and places. This morning, we're fortunate to have Reverend Elizabeth Asenza with us as our guest worship leader. Elizabeth uses she, her pronouns. Reverend Elizabeth is the minister at the UU Church of Wakefield. She has also worked as a hospice chaplain on the South Shore and was an affiliated community minister at First Church in Jamaica Plain. Originally from rural Vermont, Reverend Elizabeth lives in Roslindale and spends her free time reading speculative fiction and running. She loves cats and dogs and knitting. I draw your attention to the announcements in the order of service. Immediately following our service, you're invited to join us for coffee and conversation in Scott Hall, just across the courtyard. A reminder, for the safety and comfort of all, please remember to keep your mask on at all times when you're inside a First Parish building, unless you are actively eating or drinking or using a microphone. Please also turn your phones and other devices that might make noise to their quietest setting. Finally, I want to tell you something. We come here to rest or to be recharged, challenged, or affirmed. You belong here, maybe only for the next hour, but we hope for much longer. You belong here, and we are happy to have you with us. I invite you to take a deep breath in and out. Continue to take those deep breaths over the next few moments. Begin to let go of whatever you need to let go of to be more fully present here, to yourself, to one another, and to the sacred in this time and place. A flame within a chalice is a primary symbol of the Unitarian Universalist faith tradition. To symbolize the light of reason, the warmth of community, and the flame of hope, it is our tradition to begin our worship by kindling the flame of our chalice. I light the chalice with these words: we ground ourselves first in love. May the love we draw in and the love we send forth be like this flame, the center that holds us in community, invites us to curiosity, ignites hope within, and calls us to presence in our wider world. Please rise in body or spirit to sing our hymn, number 299 in the gray hymnal, Make Channels for the Streams of Love, and remain standing for the sung affirmation and spoken affirmation. Love is the doctrine of this church. The quest of truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge in freedom, to serve all life with compassion, to the end that all souls shall grow into harmony with the divine. This is our great covenant, one with another and with our God. You may be seated.
Good morning. Can y'all hear me? Okay, good. My name is Lauren Strauss. I am the Director of Religious Exploration here at First Parish, and I would love to say with you in American Sign Language, good morning and welcome to church. All right. This story is called I Am Love. And it's about all of the different forms of love that exist in the universe. And it is written by Susan Verde, and the art is by Peter H. Reynolds, who's one of my very favorite illustrators. So this book, I'm going to read the dedication. This book is my love letter to the world, as each one of us is worthy of love in all its forms and expressions, and we are all capable of adding light to the world when we listen to our hearts and choose love. That was by Susan Verde. When I see someone going through a storm, of hurt and unfairness, of anger and sadness, when the sun disappears and the sky grows black. Sorry, dark, not black. And I see there is fear. I ask myself, what can I do to let the light back in? I put my hands on my heart and I listen, and that is where I find the answer. I have compassion. I act with tenderness. I am love. I can listen and not say a word. I can be there. Love is being present. I can hug and hold and say, everything will be all right. Love is comfort. I can speak softly and choose my words and actions carefully. Love is gentle. I can give thanks for all I have and am able to share. Love is gratitude. I can keep my mind and body safe and healthy. Love is taking care of me. I can express what's important to me. Love is creative. I can know that no one is perfect. Love is understanding. I can do my best to make things better when something is wrong. Love is effort. I can celebrate those I've loved before. Love is remembering. I can find goodness in a kind word, a helping hand, or a shared smile. I can breathe in the air that the whole world shares and know all creatures are made from the very same stardust. Love is connection. When the clouds roll in, for others and for me, I now know there is something I can do. I can let my heart lead the way. I am love. You are love. We are love. And with love, we will weather the storm and light up the sky together. Thank you. And now, the children and the teachers and the youth and I will head over to religious exploration as you all sing us out. In our community, there is great joy, and there is also great sorrow. We set aside this time in the service because we know that a joy shared is a joy expanded, and a sorrow shared can feel as though someone is lifting a burden. You can write down the joys and sorrows you wish to share in the book at the back of the sanctuary, or you can submit them online in advance. We'll begin with the sorrows. Just one spoken sorrow for today. I am thinking of my friend Carmen as she begins the tender time of living life without her husband. We will sing verse 1 of Comfort Me. Comfort me. We have two joys to share this morning. One is from Ellen Cormier, who writes that Charlie had his PET scan this week. It was clear and no cancer showed. She is so thankful for all of the well wishes. And the second one from Robin Hegvik, who says, finally, enough snow to get in a little bit of cross-country skiing. My heart soars, she says.
I agree with you, Robin. And we'll sing the second verse. The lyric is "Sing with me." Oh, my soul, sing with me. Sing with me. Sing with me, oh, my soul. And we light one final candle this morning for all of the many joys and sorrows which remain unspoken. We'll sing the third verse. The lyric is "Speak for me."
Will you please join me in a spirit of prayer or contemplation? Spirit of life and love, here we are on another Sunday morning, headed into another week. We come carrying joys, moments of gratitude for clear health, for seasonally appropriate weather that lets us go outside and play like we did as young children. The joy of a community breakfast that allows each in this congregation to join one another in a meal and share stories. And we come holding sorrows. That difficult time of adjusting to a spouse's death. The love we have when that person is our family member or our friend, and we wish deeply that we could fix their broken heart. The steadiness of accompanying our beloveds through grief and bearing witness to all they experience. The heartbreak of ongoing war overseas, of a year of war in Ukraine. The heartbreak that pops into our news feeds all too often. And those tender moments, the ones we can't quite speak aloud. Sometimes because we can't find the words. Sometimes because we're not yet ready to share them with the world. We hold them in the silent sanctuaries of our hearts, where we care for them, knowing that our community holds them with us even as they don't know the details. We try so hard to live beautiful, full lives that care for our world, for its people, its animals, its plants. We try, and sometimes we fall short. Not because we don't carry good intentions or love with us, but because we are human and we are imperfect. And still we stay in relationship, because it is in relationship with one another that we know we have the opportunity to return again, to try again, to forgive ourselves and one another, to lean into continued possibility. I invite you now to take a comfortable breath. Settle your body. Feel your feet against the floor. Take in the small sounds around you and join me for a quiet minute. Each of us is a part of an intricate web of relationships. When one of us celebrates a joy or grieves a loss, the web of life moves to a new shape. We are a part of the turn of the earth, the shift of the stars, the pull of the sea, and of all change. May it be so. Amen. We give to our church because investing financially in our community is part of how we ensure that the work that we believe in, the work of our church, in our community, in our own lives, in Framingham and Metro West, can continue. We take an offering this morning mindful of the generosity that fosters our connections and invites us to engage our world with hope. And if you are joining First Parish in Framingham for the first time this morning, please let the plate pass you by. This service is the congregation's gift to you. Our offering will now be gratefully received. Oh, now I can see everybody really well. I like that. Our reading this morning is the meditation To Invoke Love by Sean Parker Dennison. To invoke love is to ask for a hug from a thunderstorm, spill tea in the lap of the infinite trickster, to make the biggest, most embarrassing mistake of your life in front of everyone who matters. To invoke love is to never know if it will come softly, with the nuzzle of a beloved dog, or pounce right on your chest with the strength of a lioness protecting her cub, her pride, her homeland. To invoke love is to take the risk of inviting chaos to visit the spaces you spent so much time making tidy, and watch as the breath of life scatters everything you have only just folded and put away. To invoke love is to allow for the possibility that your words and your actions might become so empowered you can no longer believe in apathy or the self-righteous idea that nothing can change. To invoke love is to give up self-deprecation, false humility, pride, to consider yourself worthy to be made whole, willing to encounter love that will never let us let each other go. To invoke love is to guard against assumptions, take care with our words, and practice forgiveness, not as ethereal ideal, but right here in the messy midst of our imperfect lives. To invoke love is to approach each day and every person with wonder. Anticipating love's arrival. Is this the moment? Is this love's grand entrance? Is this person the embodiment of love? Am I the one? To invoke love is to play the fool, the one more concerned with loving than with appearance or reputation, the one ready and willing to be vulnerable, abandoning anything that gets in love's way. To invoke love is to be ready to become love. Here, now, in everything we do. Are you ready? So Sean Parker Dennison asks us, are we ready to become love? And I think you could ask me this question every year, and I would say yes. And then by the next year, I will have learned something about invoking or becoming or welcoming in love that I hadn't even realized I needed to know. Does that sound familiar? Probably to many of us. Love has this tricky way of getting inside us and blowing wide open our assumptions, turning what we thought we knew upside down. So I am the only child of a single parent. And since I was young, my immediate family has been just my mother and I. For years, it has afforded us the luxury to make the other our family priority. We have always been close. For decades, we've coordinated holidays, visiting the same family members at the same time. We've vacationed together and popped in and out of one another's homes for long weekends. And for years, it's been really, really nice. But there's also been, in the back of my mind, this looming, nagging worry that has grown over time. As I age, as my mother ages, we are facing the realities that come with supporting an older parent. And I am facing them without a sibling with whom to share the work and the worries, the grief and the love. And for a long time, it's been in the back of my mind as a thing that I will someday have to navigate alone. And then last summer, it became a thing I had to navigate right now. Alone, I thought. My phone rang one morning, and on the other end of the line, my mother's friend Garrett was telling me that the rescue squad had come. My mother was on her way to the hospital, and I should probably drive up to Vermont. Oh, and her home wasn't safe for her to return to without some work. My apartment had never felt so big. I had never felt so small in it, alone with my thoughts and with limited information. And I had some professional commitments with my congregation over the next few days. So I called our board chair, someone I knew I could rely on to carry out what I had planned for. And she did, I'm grateful for her. And then I texted the group thread. In the spring of 2020, several friends and I started a group text thread to care for one another in those long moments of social isolation, and we've kept it going. It continues today. Our group has seen one another through additions and losses of pets, an adoption, a marriage, an organ transplant. This was absolutely the group I wanted to share with. And then my phone rang again, almost right away. It was my friend Emily. She's on the text thread. I can come up on Tuesday. Do you want company? Help? What should I bring? Emily is also a minister, and she had just started her sabbatical. She desperately needed the downtime she was supposed to get. She also had a 2-year-old at home and a spouse who also works. Even in sabbatical, her life was full. And still, she made new plans. She drove several hours to my small hometown, and in doing so, she redefined family for me. When I asked Emily if I could share this story today, I told her how it was an example of redefining family for me. Of course I did that, she said. I love you. And I had known that, right? I know my friends love me. We know our friends love us. When I moved to Massachusetts in 2017, it was because I knew that this was a place where I could build a lasting community of love for myself. And then a few months after I made my decisions, 2 of my dearest friends were called to serve Greater Boston congregations, and boy, did that reinforce my choice. I would have people here who would show up for me in love. But I hadn't expected the way that my friends would become my family. For better or for worse, one of the truths about having a very small immediate family is that you get really used to having a very small immediate family. Those 40 years of planning with just my mother and I in mind, that luxury I mentioned earlier, it's also just super entrenched in how we function as a family. Welcoming in the love of others, expanding and redefining family wasn't difficult, but it did catch me by surprise. And it did send me down a path of wondering, what else might be expanded by welcoming in love? So for years during the winter months like these, my morning ritual has been a half an hour with my book, always a fun book, sitting in front of what I call my happy light. It's one of those lamps that mimics the sun to stave off seasonal depression. And I sit there with my coffee. And in the summer, I substitute my front porch for the happy light. More recently, it has also included this. On the wall above my desk is a bulletin board. And it has notes on it like names of our local indigenous tribes and quotations and memories of moments in ministry over the years. Each morning, I spend some time looking at that display as I think about my day. It prepares me for what is ahead. It reminds me of the love shared in communities, in congregations, in organizations. The love that I know, even without knowing you well, must be shared in this congregation. It's a love that I've been part of in congregations I have served. Sometimes it's a love I have observed when I've been a guest in a congregation, like knowing about your community breakfast this morning. It is a ritual of welcoming in love that helps me be more present for my day and excites me about whatever my work is in the hours ahead. It is a ritual that grounds me in the present and encourages me to reach toward the future. And there are so many ways we can ground ourselves in love and welcome it in. The story I Am Love, our Time for All Ages this morning, told the story of a child welcoming in love to ultimately find that their own essence is love. The narrator says, I put my hands on my heart and listen, and that is where I find the answer. They find the answer to how they can be present in love by stilling their body and mind, by opening themselves fully. They go on to tell us all of the actions that they take that are a lived embodiment of love. Love is not just a feeling they have, but how they engage with the world. Love is presence and self-care and creativity and silence. And Dennison, in our reading, too, gives us a frame for how we can welcome in love. He uses the idea of invoking love and then invites us more deeply into ideas similar to those of Susan Verde in our story. He tells us that invoking or welcoming in love can look like being vulnerable enough to make mistakes in front of the people who matter. That one's hard. It can look like releasing control over the spaces we have carefully cultivated. Oh, that is one I relate to. When I have carefully planned an event and the chaos of New England weather or human need shows up to disrupt my plans, it takes an intention, a consciousness, to release control and let that chaos take us wherever it might, further into love. And welcoming in love looks like risk. This one is my favorite. Quote, to invoke love is to give up self-deprecation, false humility, pride, to consider yourself worthy to be made whole, willing to encounter love that will never let us let each other go. Wow. Welcoming in love risks being changed, risks becoming someone new. If the me of 20 years ago were given a glimpse into 2023, I would not have believed what I saw. In my early 20s, I was happy, certain of the adult I was growing into, ready to take on the world. And the love that I have welcomed into my life has changed me profoundly. If your 20s are also far behind you, you might be laughing right now, remembering how different your early adulthood looked from your life today. I imagine this might be true for you too, that the love you have welcomed into your life has had a significant role in shaping who you have become. The love that will never let us let each other go just might be the love that changes us wholly into people who are the most authentic representations of self, but who we can't yet see in our future. I frequently find myself repeating the statement, love doesn't leave anyone out. And I do it because it's a statement that matters to me, and it's one I find directive for my own life. For all the ways that our individual theologies differ, this is something I think that all Unitarian Universalists can agree we believe. And maybe you're bristling a little bit at the idea that we're going to agree to all believe the same thing. But I invite you to just put that inherent skepticism we all have just on the back burner for a brief moment. Love doesn't leave anyone out. Love is for everyone. We may find different meaning in these words, right? Theists might find space for a loving God in these words. Humanists can find space for a recognition of love that is reflected in human interaction. If our spirituality is fed by relationship to the natural world, or by another religious tradition that we hold in concert with Unitarian Universalism, we can find a call to love as a call to care for our planet, or a call to uphold those other values that move us so deeply. And we might also hear it as, quite simply, everyone is deserving of love. In a tradition where how we define the sacred is often very individual, love is a broad enough word that we can all find our place in it. But love doesn't leave anyone out is more than a simple statement of a shared belief. It is a call to action. It asks us to first welcome in love, fill ourselves with it, drink deeply of love as we start our day, from our spouses, our children, our pets, our families, the memories held in the objects of our home, and then show up for your day. 19th century Jewish poet and activist Emma Lazarus wrote, "Until we are all free, we are none of us free." Of Portuguese heritage, Lazarus' family lived in New York City since long before the American Revolution, and she grew up with substantial wealth. Upon learning about the pogroms in Russia, she turned to activism work that sought to create better lives for Russian Jewish refugees. This is the context in which she wrote those words. She was calling on other American Jews to show up with love for refugees. She was reminding others that we are best in community, best when we can show up in ways that help us all thrive, best when we can find liberation for us all, even when the nuances of our lives look different. We can look at Emma Lazarus' words and find a place in them today. We can hold them up side by side with the idea that love doesn't leave anyone out, and find ourselves called to show up for our communities in ways that help us all thrive. We can be present in our workday, in our volunteer efforts, in our justice work, in our local politics, in ways that begin from welcoming in love. We can nurture young people, teaching them that it matters how we live in the world. We can welcome in love. We can take a breath. And we can be changed and be change. May we put our hands on our hearts, listen, and find the answer. May it be so. So our closing hymn this morning might be both familiar and new, and here's why. I'm really grateful to Reverend Aaron for giving me the chance to do this with you and introduce it. In our teal hymnal, it is number 1014. It was initially called Standing on the Side of Love, but you might notice that in our order of service, it is called Answering the Call of Love. When the lyricist Jason Shelton first wrote this hymn, he intended it to be an anthem in support of marriage equality, and it was. It was a great one for a long time. And over the years, as language changed, Shelton heard expressions of pain from people who heard ableism in his lyrics. And that was not in his intention. The advocacy of Reverend Teresa Ninan Soto was especially powerful. And so Shelton changed his lyrics to a more accessible metaphor, and one that also was an invitation and not simply a statement of where we are. And so today I invite you to sing Answering the Call of Love, where you see Standing on the Side of Love printed. We won't do this perfectly. I'm grateful that the choir has had a heads up and learned this, so they're prepared and they've been practicing and they're going to help us. And because we are learning, we will make mistakes, and it's really hard to go against the printed word. But I am so grateful for your willingness to embrace love and try this with me today. So please rise in body or in spirit. So I'm going to invite us to take leadership from the child in our story Put your hands on your heart. Take a breath. Listen. Whether your answer comes from beyond or comes from within, I trust that you will find it today. And with these final words from Deborah Hafner, the light of love surrounds us. Love enfolds us. The power of love protects us. Love watches over us wherever we are. Love is. Thank you for being with me this morning.